All right, diving in. Dark. I know this one's been on your list. And judging by the YouTube videos you sent, timelines, explanations, whoa, even thematic analyses. Someone's been doing their homework.
Definitely serious about this show.
Absolutely. So no messing around. We're going deep. Not just what happens, but why. What Dark is really saying.
Let's be honest, it's a show that rewards that, right? Because on the surface, time travel.
Sure, yeah, but so much more than that. Like, there's philosophy woven in, human drama.
And don't forget the science. It can get seriously complex.
Oh, absolutely. Mind-bending is putting it mildly. So, quick recap for anyone who's maybe just heard the buzz. Winden, small town, kind of creepy vibe, people vanishing.
The basics, yeah.
But let's talk about how Dark does time travel. Because it's not just, oh, hop in a time machine, problem solved. It's practically a character itself. And it all seems to hinge on 1986, that nuclear power plant incident. Why is that year so crucial?
Because that's where it all starts, right? That's the fracture, the wound in time, I guess you could say. That's what makes those 33-year jump possible.
Okay, so the show's built around these very specific intervals. That's not just random, is it?
Nope, it's cyclical, like a heartbeat almost, driving the whole narrative.
A heartbeat that sometimes feels like a flat line, just saying.
Yeah, it can get pretty dark, no pun intended.
But before we spiral into that, what about the actual science of it all? Because Dark throws around terms like bootstrap paradoxes, quantum entanglement, even the God particle. Where does that fit in?
Well, that's where Tannhaus comes in, the clockmaker, obsessed with bringing his family back and his creation, the time machine.
Ah, based on this God particle thing.
Exactly, and that's what breaks time, splits it into those two worlds.
Okay, hold on. So we've got the time travel rules, but then the show throws in a second world, a parallel one where Jonas doesn't even exist, and Martha's role is flipped.
Yeah, mirror images. But here's where it gets even wilder.
Oh, there's more.
There's the origin world. Think of it as the root of both of those other ones. Time travel hasn't happened there. It's like the control group in an experiment.
My head's spinning. So we got three worlds all tangled up. How do they even work together?
Imagine a tree. Origin world's the trunk. The other two branches split off because of that initial broken time.
Okay. I can kind of picture that.
Like those asking, what if every choice, every moment creates a new branch? That's where free will, right? You actually have a say, or are we all just living out different versions of the story?
Whoa. Definitely some heavy stuff to unpack there. Okay, let's bring it back down to earth for a sec. Characters. Jonas, our guy, right in the thick of it. And Martha, well, she's heading down a pretty tragic path. We know that much.
And then there's Adam, leader of Sigmundus, obsessed with, I don't know, math time. But his motivation is not simple.
It never is with this show.
He wants to break the cycle. Thinks ending time travel is the only way to stop the suffering. Is he a villain or just desperately trying to fix things?
The question Dark keeps asking, right? Who are the good guys, who are the bad?
If there are any.
Exactly. But we can't forget those family trees. And I mean, gloriously messed up. Jonas being his own ancestor. That's not just a fun fact.
Oh, it's totally intentional. Underlines that cyclical thing. You know, we're all caught in these patterns, echoes of the past.
And it's not just Jonas. The unknown, that son of Jonas and Alt Martha, from that other world. Three versions of him, all pulling strings, pushing things along.
Consequence, because who is he really?
Okay, yeah, my brain officially needs a break. But I think we've laid some good groundwork here. The how of time travel in Dark, those tangled up worlds, the key players.
And believe me, those questions we've raised, they only get more complex from here. Dark doesn't just want to entertain you, it wants you to think. So, ready to dive back into the twisted world of Dark. Still with me?
Oh, absolutely. I'm hooked. Although I have to admit, I'm still trying to wrap my head around all those timelines and paradoxes. But you know what's really grabbing me? The characters. We touched on Jonas, Martha, Adam, but there's a whole cast of players in this crazy game. Like, what about Ulrich Nielsen? He goes to desperate lengths to save his son Mikkel, who disappears into the past, right?
Ulrich's a great example of how messing with time, even with the best intentions, well, it rarely ends well.
Yeah, the road to hell and all that.
He's so focused on rescuing Mikkel, he can't see the bigger picture, and ultimately becomes trapped by his own act. Tragic.
And then there's Claudia Tiedemann. Talk about a fascinating character. Jonas's time-traveling mother starts out seemingly normal, but she ends up manipulating time like a pro, all to save her daughter, Regina. It really makes you wonder how far you'd go for the people you love.
Right. It's not just about the sci-fi, is it? Dark is really exploring these deep human questions, the choices we make, the burdens we carry.
Across generations, even.
Exactly. Can we ever truly escape the past, or does it always shape us? Claudia's story really embodies that.
Then there's Noah, the creepy priest. Initially seems like a total villain, but then
more layers get peeled back, yeah.
You realize he's a victim too, manipulated by Adam, driven by the loss of his daughter Charlotte. Talk about complex characters. Dark is full of them.
It's what makes the show so gripping. You're constantly reevaluating who you think is good, bad.
And everyone's got their own agenda. But speaking of mind-bending, can we talk about the bootstrap paradox?
Oh, yeah. Dark loves that one.
It's like they're throwing it around like confetti. That notebook, for instance, with all the details about the time travel cycles, it just keeps appearing, passed from person to person, and it's never clear where it came from originally. How does that even work?
The bootstrap paradox is one of those things that makes you question everything you thought you knew about causality. It suggests that maybe causality isn't linear, that some things exist in a closed loop, like a snake eating its own tail.
Okay, that's a disturbing image, but I get it. It's like Dark is saying, forget everything you thought you knew about time. But for a show that's so chaotic and complex, it's also incredibly meticulous. Like every detail, every line, every visual element is carefully chosen, you know?
Oh, absolutely. The creators are masters of foreshadowing and symbolism. Everything's interconnected, and as you watch, you start noticing these subtle connections, these recurring motifs, and it all adds these layers of meaning to the story. It's like a tapestry.
Totally. Like those Winden caves, for example. That labyrinth acting as a portal through time. It's not just a cool visual, right? It's a metaphor for the characters' inner worlds, all those secrets and hidden depth, and how everything's connected past, present, future.
And the nuclear power plant, too. A symbol of progress, but also destruction.
It's like a warning, right, about the unintended consequences of our action. How even trying to control nature can backfire and create these ripples across time.
Exactly. And the symbolism goes even deeper. The triquetra, for instance, that three-pointed symbol representing past, present, future, all bound together, it pops up everywhere, subtly reinforcing that central theme.
See, those are the things that make Dark so rewarding. The details. It's like a giant puzzle box, and as you unravel the mysteries, you get these aha moments, these flashes of insight, and it just makes the whole experience so much richer.
It's definitely a show that rewards your attention. And as we move into the final part of our deep dive, I'm curious, what's resonated with you the most so far? What are some of the things that have stood out?
You know, it's funny. Most time travel story, it's all about fixing things, right? Going back to make a better future. But Dark almost flips that on its head. It suggests that maybe some things are just inevitable.
It's definitely not your typical time travel story. It doesn't offer easy answers or a reset button. It's not about how our attempts to change things might actually make them worse, strengthen the cycle instead of break.
Yeah, like those characters are stuck in this cosmic spiderweb. And every time they struggle, they just get more tangled. But then there's that ending. Jonas and all Martha sacrificing themselves to wipe out the time-traveling worlds entirely. Heartbreaking, but also kind of hopeful in a way. What do you make of that resolution?
It's powerful, that's for sure. They realize that the only way to truly end the suffering is to undo the very thing that started it all, even if it means it makes you think about what freedom really means. Is it about choice or about it?
And the way Dark uses objects as symbols, like that golden pocket passed down through generations, always showing up at these pivotal moments. It's almost like a key to understanding the whole story.
It's a great example of how the show takes these seemingly small details and weaves them into this grand tap. The watch isn't just an object. It represents time itself, the cyclical nature of events, how we're all connected by these unseen threads.
And the emotional gut punches, like when Jonas first meets his older self, Adam. Talk about a mind-blowing encounter.
Oh, that scene is so layered. It's not just the shock of meeting your future self. It's about the weight of responsibility, the realization that maybe choice is an illusion. It really gets to the heart of identity and the complexity.
Dark never shies away from those big questions, does it? If everything's predetermined, do we really have free will? Or are we just playing out roles in a story that's already been written?
It's enough to give you an existential crisis. But that's what makes the show so compelling. It doesn't give you easy answers. It forces you to confront these fundamental myths: time, fate, the nature of reality itself.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into Dark, what's the one thing you hope our listener takes away from this conversation?
Dark reminds us that time isn't a straight line. It's a labyrinth, full of twists and turns, echoes and reflections. And while we may not be able to control every aspect of our journey, we can choose how we navigate the maze, how we face the darkness, and how we find meaning in the face.
Beautifully put. Dark is a show that stays with you long after you've finished watching. It challenges you, makes you think, and ultimately leaves you with a sense of wonder at the sheer complexity of existence. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, everyone. We'll see you next time.